you expect to ever see anything like this in your
I
lifetime?
don't think we'll see anything like this in our lifetime again.
Hopefully not, Peter. What else have you shot on that camera that even compares? Nothing, I'm guessing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Tell us about the people. Were you seeing people falling, people helping each other up? But what were you seeing?
It almost was like the tragedy in the Oklahoma bombing.
Yes.
Where just people in the streets crying, a lot of people wandering around in bewilderment, really, just not knowing what to do. You know, I'm still, and most of my family and friends know that I live next to the World Trade Center, so I finally got in touch with my mom to let her know that because she knows I'm going to grab the camera and go down there. And I have friends and family calling in just to make sure that I'm okay.
And obviously this situation actually became much more dangerous in the minutes after the initial impact and second impact, leading to the towers collapsing.
Without a doubt. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine the destruction that the buildings actually caused to the surrounding area, you know, around it. It's just devastating.
Have you reflected on the fact that you might have gotten closer and taken more pictures?
You know, it's funny because the roommates were egging me on. Excuse me, just a little bit.
So what stopped you?
I didn't want to go near it. I didn't want to go near the building.
Something told you not to go?
No, I mean, I kind of wanted to get up close to catch the footage of the EMS and all the other personnel in action, but something told me not to go near it, you know, just in case it did.
That was called your gut.
Collapse,
You followed your gut, and that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, they are amazing pictures, but we're glad you're okay as well. Unfortunately, those EMS workers, those firefighters, police you're talking about, many of them, we believe, were at ground zero during the collapse and the subsequent blasts.
Peter Demas, thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this point, we want to go to Hazel Sanchez, who has some information for us from the Information Center. Hazel.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Apparently we have a microphone problem again.
We'll fix your mic in just a second. In the meantime, Michael O'Looney has some things, school closings and transportation issues.
It's that time.
It is. The last hour or so, schools have been getting out, and the Board of Ed said that all schools were let out at the regular times today in the last hour. If you had children that went to PS 89, PS 150, or IS 89, all those students had been moved to PS 3, and PS 3 is on Hudson between Christopher and Grove, and that's where parents were being advised to pick up their children. If we move to mass transit, a lot of people trying to leave the city. As far as the subways, there is subway service out of Manhattan on the A, E, F, and 7 lines. There is no subway service to lower Manhattan, and there is service on the 1, 2, 3, and the 4, and the 9 lines. That is still out on those lines because of power problems. Again, those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 9 lines still out because of power problems. Service has been restored on the A, B, C, D, E, F, J, M, L, and the 5 and the 7 lines. All ferry service has been suspended except at Pier 11 at West 33rd Street. Ferries there are still going to New Jersey. As for the tunnels, the outbound Midtown Tunnel, the Whitestone Bridge, the Throgs Neck, they are all open. The Bayonne-Goethals Outer Bridge Crossing is closed. The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel is closed. And as far as train service, the LIRR, New Jersey Transit, and Metro North have limited outbound service. People are also being let out of Manhattan by the thousands on foot as they cross the bridges. The LIE inbound west of Hicksville is closed, and the Southern State is closed at the Queens border. There are triage centers set up, we're told, at the Javits Convention Center and at 3 lower Manhattan high schools.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. And
Thank
as
you.
Michael pointed out there, it's people are trying to get out of the city. It's difficult getting into the city, virtually impossible right now because they're trying to maintain security here. Earlier today, both the borders of New York State and the U.S. border with Canada and Mexico closed to traffic either way. We did have a report earlier that the New York State police were allowing limited amount of traffic between the U.S. and Canada through New York State. But latest report, the borders closed for now as a security precaution.
The mayor mentioned earlier that he had spoken with Cardinal Egan and that the Cardinal had asked us all to pray, to be very prayerful today. We have some sound now from Cardinal Egan.
To invite New York to join in prayer. This is a tragedy that this great city can handle. I'm amazed at the goodness of our police and our firemen, our firefighters. I'm amazed at the goodness of our hospital people. They're here willing to do anything they can. So once again, we thank New York for being here to handle this, and it'll be handled well. We ask the Lord to bless us at this very difficult time And we thank our doctors, our firefighters, and our police, our nurses, and all who have made every effort to address this tragedy in a prayerful, holy, and human way. Thank you very much.
Advice from Cardinal Egan to pray, and it is good advice.
That is the spiritual leader of millions of Catholics in our area. And we should point out that while we are focused on New York City today, you know, there was an attack on the Pentagon as well today, and evacuations were ordered across this country. Here in New York at the United Nations shortly after the impact, as well as at the Sears Tower in Chicago, Los Angeles mobilized its anti-terrorism division. Security also intensified around naval installations in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Walt Disney World in Orlando was also closed today.
Hazel Sanchez is standing by in our information center with more for us. Hazel.
Well, Angela and Todd, as you know and well aware, thousands of people have been injured by today's horrific tragedy at the World Trade Center, and the hospitals have been inundated with people. So St. Vincent's Hospital, one of the hospitals affected, says it needs help. But the hospital is putting out a call to doctors and nurses around the city. So grab a pencil and a piece of paper if you're a doctor or a nurse out there. Doctors are being asked to call the following number, area code 212-604-3850. Again, 212-604-3850. And nurses are also being asked to call in if they can help. That number, 212-604-8474. Nurses again, 212-604-8474. The hospital has also set up a mental health helpline at the following number. That number is 212-604-8220. Again, 212-604-8220. And the hospital also has a family information area at the hospital on 7th Avenue between 11th and 12th Street. And their information number there is 212-604-7285. Again, that number, 212-604-7285. So again, a call out for help. Doctors and nurses, if you can help out, give a call to St. Vincent's Hospital. Also, we have some cancellations to tell you about. Rockland County officials have canceled all after-school activities, and they also have closed two popular shopping malls as a precaution today. Those two malls closed are at the Nanuet Mall and the Palisades Center Mall in West Nyack. And that's the latest from the Information Center. Back to you, Angela and Todd.
Okay, thank you so much. And remember, blood is critical. If you can give blood, please do so. The city is in dire need of O negative.
All right, a moment ago, we talked about the impact elsewhere outside New York. Obviously, our main concern here is the people who can see us in our viewing area, trying to get around, trying to find out about loved ones, etc. But the second impact here, the second attack happened in Washington, D.C., the D.C. area, actually in Virginia, at the Pentagon, the center of the U.S. military. That is the videotape of the Pentagon moments after an airliner, we believe an airliner, crashed into a side of the five-sided Pentagon. That happened about 9:45 this morning. Again, the Pentagon struck. We have had reports that many people were inside the Pentagon at the time. It has since been evacuated along with almost any other building in Washington of any importance that would have contained government workers. They have all been evacuated and were evacuated shortly after that attack. There was a question at some point whether the U.S. was going to confirm that the Pentagon had actually been attacked. At the same time, once it was confirmed, the government also reiterating that the military still at full operations and the United States government full operations. George W. Bush in Florida this morning, now in Nebraska in a heavily bunkered area, a national security meeting going on as we speak.
The mayor, when he gave his press conference with the governor, talked about the doctors at St. Vincent's and the nurses there and said that he really commended the way they responded to this tragedy, that they just responded immediately, if not sooner. And he gave them pats on the back specifically. Whitney Casey is standing by live at St. Vincent's for us. Whitney. Whitney, are you there?
All day since 9 a.m. this morning. We just got an update on how many are here. 256 patients now here, 25 in critical, 3 dead, and one of those dead is a firefighter. Now here to talk to us about some of the injuries. You've been walking around. This is Father Gerald Murray. He's been walking around the hospital talking to some of the victims. You actually talked to some of the firefighters. You said some of the heroics of those firefighters were unbelievable. We're also told that there were about 30 firefighters, police officers, and EMT workers that are here.
Yes, when I came down to the hospital this morning, I was standing on the sidewalk and they were bringing in different victims, and among them were a couple of firemen, and they had their eyes washed out and they were standing over on the side, so I went over to talk to them to see how they were doing. And these men had been walking up the stairway at the World Trade Center trying to reach the level of the fire, and as they said, it was so tough on them that they'd have to stop, rest, then continue going. And one of them said there was a third explosion and they were ordered to evacuate. So they never actually got to where they were going, but they were heroic.
And you told me one of them even said, even when he was being looked at, I want to go back and help my men.
One man was being taken out of an ambulance, put into a wheelchair, and he says, I got to get back to the scene. As one of his buddies said, your day is finished.
It's a pretty frenetic scene in there.
It is. One woman was brought in cardiac arrest, and a relative of hers was very distraught, and they were trying to calm him down. And I have to say, it was amazing the work the doctors are doing inside.
There's really nothing. I mean, what can you say to these people in such tragedy?
Well, I went back to my church at noon, which is on 23rd Street, to say Mass, and I said, we got to pray that the Lord will spare us from further evil here, and also pray for the consolation of those people currently suffering, trapped inside.